Hey everyone, today I've got another minimalism story from one of you. I'm so grateful that people have been sending in stories, and I love learning from all of you and just chatting with you about some of these principles. And yeah, we'll dive right in, but before we do that, I want to really quickly talk about the sponsor of this video. Merit Beauty is a minimalist beauty brand that focuses on clean, holistic beauty. They want to create products that are good for your skin, your body, and the planet. And believe me, my skin is naturally a disaster. I have super dry skin, I experience rosacea, so it's often really blotchy, and somehow I'm able to achieve a natural, glowy, dewy look that I'm looking for. And honestly, I think a big factor of what allowed this to happen is their new product, the Merit Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. It's such a beautiful, light serum. Just shake it up, pump it out into your hand, and just apply it directly to your face. It's a bi-phase serum that both plumps and instantly hydrates your skin. Merit's signature bag comes free with every first purchase, and they offer free shipping over $40 and free returns, which I think is always really nice. So if you're interested, I'd encourage you to check out the link in my description box below, which will lead you to a bunch of Merit products that I absolutely love. And let's get back to the rest of the video. Editing Elin here. Just want to add that this video does discuss a house fire and loss, so if you don't feel like hearing about that today, feel free to skip this one. Okay, let's get started with the story. Hi Elin, I just watched your video and I often tune in to your channel for your advice and approach to minimalism. I want to share my journey with you as it has been a lifelong endeavor for me and I am a work in progress. In fact, I would not call myself a minimalist, but someone striving for balance after accumulating too much and having a hard time letting go. I gotta say, I'm with you. Sometimes I wonder if I really am a minimalist as much as someone who's just trying to find that balance and trying to live with a bit less, because historically I had so much. So just so you know, I'm totally with you. Anyway, let me get back to reading. My name is Jennifer, and I am a mom of 2 and have been on a decluttering journey for quite some time. My story starts when I was 23. I lost all my belongings and pets in a house fire that engulfed my entire childhood home. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That sounds like a horrible experience. I cannot imagine. I just really feel for you. Wow. Thankfully, all of my family members were safe, which was most important, but it was a devastating experience to endure and has taken some time to process over the years. Outside of the initial pain and grief, the hardest items to lose were the irreplaceable items such as photographs and videos, furniture my grandfather made by hand, and family heirlooms that I hoped to one day pass down to my own children. That really is a devastating loss. I'm sorry that happened. The fire had subtle effects on me that I didn't realize at first. I began to notice that I tended to hold on to all sentimental items instead of holding on to a select few. I could really see this when I had my own kids. I held on to every piece of artwork they created and kept every digital photo ever taken. I kept all their baby clothes and books. It became easier to just put everything in bins to store at a later date, delaying that painstaking decision-making process that frankly brought up emotions tied to my losses. I think that's a really good point, that sometimes our experiences in life, perhaps losses that we've gone through, those things inform how we approach our stuff and how we relate to our belongings. And especially in your case, a fire where you lost so many pieces that were important to you, I can certainly understand why it would make it that much more difficult to part with the things that you have now. And I do think that there is something to wanting to keep memories alive and to connecting with times in the past that push us to keep things for longer than we really want to according to our values. But I just think this is such an interesting point that sometimes our past life experiences really affect us in ways we might not even realize. Another way I saw the impact was in my shopping habits. After suffering a tremendous loss, and it can be any type of loss, it can feel comforting to try and fill the void. I would sometimes find myself buying extra unnecessary items that I thought I may need now or in the foreseeable future. Having more stuff around me became a source of comfort and trying to create a feeling of home wherever I lived. I think that's such a good point, that sometimes when we're feeling a hole, when we're feeling a loss, some kind of sadness, it is so easy to try to fill that hole with stuff, because stuff in the short term sometimes can genuinely make us a little bit happier. Like, it feels good when we buy something we like or we accumulate something that brings some level of joy to us. Like, that makes sense. It's understandable. That's why we often accumulate. And it isn't until we recognize how those losses or how those difficulties affect us that we can actually move forward and live with a little bit less. I think that awareness is so important. And it sounds like you've really become aware of how your past and what you went through is affecting you now. And I just appreciate that openness, because it's not easy to be open in that way. After moving a few times, it was clear that I had too many things that I had held onto over the years and was delaying the decision-making process because I didn't want to dig up old wounds tied to these events. It was obvious to me by the things I collected that I was afraid to part with any items I assigned sentimental value to. I began watching YouTube videos on minimalism like yours to motivate myself to begin a decluttering journey. I knew it would not be a small endeavor, as it certainly evoked a lot of emotions sorting through items, but I knew it would be worth it in the end. At first, it was a slow start. I began doing small declutters and put the sentimental items to the side as I created momentum and confidence in my decision-making process. I think that's such a good strategy. When you're getting stuck, take the piece that's really hard for you, set it to the side, and come back to it later. Love that tip. I would get frustrated when I would spend days on these projects and not see big results, but slowly over time, I started to see small wins, like having more space in my garage or less bins in my attic. I used those small successes to fuel bigger and more satisfying declutters. I decided to tackle the dreaded sentimental item bins and found tips like taking pictures of my kids' artwork and storing them on a digital file so I could see them again if I wanted. I decided to allow myself one bin for each of us to hold special items we wanted to keep, and found that by doing this, the items I did keep became even more special. Wow, I just think what you're saying here is so beautiful. It sounds like it was this horribly challenging process, but that you gradually developed a plan and even specific parameters for what will work for you to actually declutter things. And not that we need rigid rules, but sometimes having a clear plan set out before you just makes it so much more doable to make those changes that we want to make. And I also think the other point you made here, which is so important, is to take stock of the progress you've made. So often we're just focused on the next declutter, that we forget to pat ourselves on the back, to notice how already our quality of life is improving, even from a bit of decluttering. Like, even if we're not where we want to be eventually, sometimes even just cleaning out that one back closet a bit is a big deal. And we need to pay attention to that and look at that closet and savor it and enjoy it. Because if we can actually enjoy more of those steps along the way in the process, I think we'll ultimately in the long run be more successful, because we will enjoy the process. We will celebrate those steps forward and get more happiness out of minimalism. So I think there were several amazing points you made there. Thank you. I still have a ways to go, but I'm proud of my progress and celebrate the small wins. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. It's so great to celebrate those small wins. I'm so glad that you're developing that skill. That is a skill, to be able to do that. Now that I have made a significant amount of progress, I have developed a system to do 15 minutes of maintenance declutters each day. I set a timer for 15 minutes and tackle a small area such as the kitchen junk drawer or under the bathroom sink. I love that because sometimes it's about maintenance. Like, sometimes we can't just do one declutter and be done. Sometimes we keep accumulating stuff. And so taking the time to regularly clear things out, to build it into our schedules, that can make it more doable in the long run to see those long-term payoffs of those initial declutters. Making decluttering a daily habit has helped me continue the process, and many days I go longer than 15 minutes. The house fire definitely impacted my accumulating habits, but over time, I've been able to heal the wounds of such an event and know that in the end, the people we have in our life and the memories we make along the way is what is most important and what we take with us in our hearts. What a beautiful way of putting that. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. I hope that it inspires others on their decluttering journeys. All the best, Jennifer. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for this story. And I know that was very personal to you to share that experience with the fire and how it impacted you. And I'm really grateful that you opened up, because I would imagine that a lot of viewers of this channel could relate to this, that whether it's a loss like a fire or some really difficult event, or whether it's sadness or a difficulty that someone's going through that's not as clearly defined as that. Sometimes those holes we feel, they create vacuums. They create that desire for more. And sometimes we use stuff and accumulating to do that. But once we gain that awareness, once we realize that sometimes I'm shopping because I'm down or I'm bored, or I'm protecting myself from this past event that happened, or I'm protecting myself from my future fears, whatever it is, once we recognize that those things are impacting us in this way, it's easier to take back control and to choose to engage in behaviors that are according to our values and what we want our life to be, as opposed to those momentary urges of what we feel in the moment because of all these factors in our lives. Anyway, I deeply appreciate your story, and I feel like I'm learning from it, and so thank you for sharing that. And if anyone else wants to share their story, a journey they've been through, an experience, you can check out the description box for more information. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. I'm so grateful to be constantly learning from all of you. It feels great to be growing. There's nothing like learning and thinking about things differently. And your stories and even your comments on these videos, they really make me think. So thank you for being here and for participating and for being part of this little community. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.